Alright, this is Tom Ingrassia from Tom Ingrassia Images. This is my first video on YouTube. And I'll tell you real quickly what I'd like to do. I'm going to do a series of videos, hopefully quite a few. And they'll be mostly on Photoshop. I might do some lens testing, do a little bit just on computers in general, but mainly computers, how to use your computer with Photoshop. Okay, this first video, what I really want to do, I want to go to the absolute ultra basic of just finding Photoshop on your computer. And I'll tell you why I want to do that. When I've listened to videos in the past on YouTube and like bought audio tapes or videos about Photoshop, the one thing that would get me so frustrated is, number one, they'd go way too fast. Number two, they'd assume that I knew all these things that I didn't know, and they use words that I didn't know, and it was very, very frustrating. So what I'm going to try to do is to start out very, very basically, hopefully not bore the heck out of people, but also just get you started. Okay, now I do realize that if you've got Photoshop CS6, you probably know how to use your computer, but you know what, I something in me just tells me, you know what, don't do like everybody else. Make things as simple as possible just to avoid frustration. So here we go. Hopefully you'll like my videos. Please subscribe. I tell you what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing more and more videos, and they're going to be getting a little bit more detailed and a little bit more advanced as we go. But this first one, we're going to go real basic. Okay, so enough of that. You got Photoshop. It's on your computer. Where the heck is it? Okay, so first thing we're going to do is, and this will help you just to find any program actually, you go to your start menu, you click start down here, and you see all this stuff, and you can go to control panel and work on, all that crazy stuff. But you know what, I just want to find Photoshop, and I don't know where it is. I don't want to go look for it. I just want to type in Photoshop into my little search bar here, the little search bar. I don't want to go to all programs. It's too big of a list and it's too confusing. I want this to be easy. I'm going to type in Photoshop. And guess what? There it is. I go to the top. Now, when I type in Photoshop here, it's going to find everything that says Photoshop. So, Photoshop test, all this other stuff. But I just want the actual program. And I look up there, and Photoshop CS6 is 64-bit, so I'm going to choose that one. That's the full-blown version. And I'm going to hover over it, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to set it to my desktop because I want to make a shortcut so I don't have to do this again. Okay, so I go over here, click on desktop, create a shortcut, and click outside of that little window to get rid of that. And what do you know, I've got Photoshop here. Okay, so let's repeat that. What did I do? I went to start. In the little search bar, I typed in Photoshop. Let's do it again. You see Photoshop. I hover over it. I right click. I send it to, I want to create a shortcut so I don't have to do this again. And voila, there it goes. Now you see I got 3 of them. I had one before and we just put 2 more in. So let's say you want to get rid of it. Just right click, choose delete, tell it that yes, I want to delete it. And you're not deleting the program, you're just deleting the shortcut. And I want to delete this one too. Get it out of there, press yes. There we go. All right, now we found Photoshop on our computer. We put it on our desktop. Let's go ahead and open it up. We open up Photoshop, and Photoshop is such a huge program. Now, the first thing I want to mention here is, and this is what got me frustrated in the beginning, is I'd see these videos and they'd say, oh, blah, 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 do this, do this, do this, and be like, wait a minute, my Photoshop doesn't look anything like your Photoshop. And you know what? It never will, because Photoshop is so customizable that your Photoshop and my Photoshop will never look the same. Nobody's Photoshop looks the same unless they open it up for the first time and don't change anything. All right. But one part of Photoshop that will never change is way up here. You can see all these choices up here. All right. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go and try to organize ourselves to find our pictures, where our pictures are, and to get a little organized. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to click on File in Photoshop, and I want to go down. And I want to choose Browse in Bridge. Browse in Bridge. Bridge. Here's it's an old picture of my of a Boy Scout group. So I want to go into Browse Bridge, And then what I want to do is, if you look up here, and you might say, hey, Tom, you're right, my bridge doesn't look like your bridge. Well, it probably doesn't because we customize it, right? But again, up here is always going to be the same. What I want to do is I want to go to Window, and I want to make sure that this folders panel is checked, okay? Once I see that that's checked, or I check it, see I can undo it, whoops. See, now it's unchecked, and I want to click on it, so now it's there. I want to go over here, outside of the area, click, and now I've got my folders. So now what I'm looking at here is basically a structure of all of my folders. Everything on my computer is now in Bridge, okay? So see, there's my desktop, there's my computer, okay? And most likely on your computer, you know what? I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna get a better picture. This picture's not the greatest. Let's get something prettier. Let's get, ooh, this one's kind of, there's a neat picture in here. I just want to look at something nicer. Okay, that's a better picture. Okay, so we go back to our directory. Okay, we see desktop, we see all these different things. All I want you to find, this is assuming you with your computer, you've got just one hard drive, okay? C is typically the default drive. That's where everything is located. That's your pictures, everything, your programs, okay? And Windows, if you're using Windows, it will automatically have a My Pictures folder. These little guys are folders, right? You probably know that. And if I find My Pictures, okay, I can double click on it, and what's in there? Well, it could be nothing. It could be a whole bunch of different folders that you've made. It could be just a bunch of stuff all in one folder, which is sloppy, and you want to be more organized than that. So first thing I want to do is I want to set up myself to be a little bit more organized. Now you see how I've got 2018. I've just been kind of playing around here. eBay, happy, new folder 2. Okay, we'll get rid of some of these. Let's say I don't want this one. This is kind of a silly name. So I hover over it, click it. Go to delete. I delete it. Okay, clean that one up. And this one called new folder 2. Click it, right click, delete it. Make this a little bit nicer. Okay, so I'm on my pictures, and let's say that you take a lot of pictures on, let's say for instance you want to put your photos into every month. So let's start it with January. Okay, so I go to my Windows, I hover over it, I right click, new folder, and you'll see here now it says new folder. Now I got two choices. Of course I want to rename this because new folder, that's just a default. So I can either just hover over it, double click it, and then double click it again, and it gives me the choice to delete all this out by pressing the back button and type in, I like to do capitals, January. All right, January, press enter, there's my January folder. Let's do February. So I go to My Pictures, click there, right click, whoop, new folder, and you see there it says new folder. Now if you want to, you can, what we just did, what do? We double clicked it, we double clicked it again, whoops, we double clicked it again, and we press the back key, and now we're going to say February, right? February, press enter. Okay, let's do March, and I'll show you something that's a little bit more efficient. So I go up to my pictures, and I right click, and I want a new folder. Okay, and there's new folder again. But if I go down here, and again, this is where your bridge might be different than mine. If you do it up here, it's always going to be the same. But what'll happen is when I go to my pictures, right? Remember what we did? We hovered, we whoops, click out of there. We hovered. We right clicked, we went to new folder, okay, and then it said now it says new folder 2 because it won't duplicate it. So you can go down to new folder 2, click it, and then double click it again. Whoops. Double click it again. I can go here and delete that, and I can say March. Press enter. Okay. We've done that a few times, so I think you got it. But let me show you one more thing that'll be a little bit more efficient. Let's do April. What do? I hover, I right click, new folder. Okay, and it's going to say new folder 2. I could take this new folder and I could rename it from here. It's easier though if you go down here and you see what the computer does. It automatically assumes that you want to rename it, and it's all ready for you. So it's got it highlighted there. You literally can just press delete and then type in what you'd like. So it's a little bit easier to do it that way. But the reason I was up there doing it is that, again, once you get down in this part of the screen, everybody's computer can look differently, and then you get confused. Like when I was watching videos and I would get so frustrated. But let's say, so we're going to call this April. April, press enter. There we go. Okay, so there's the basics of finding Photoshop, getting it on your desktop, opening up Photoshop, going to File, getting into browsing in Bridge, setting up, make sure that your folders are here, and then maybe start creating folders to keep yourself organized. All right, so I'm going to close out of Bridge over here. Okay, I'm going to close out of Photoshop. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to do this all over again, a little bit faster, but again, just to repeat ourselves so we really get this down. So what happened in the beginning? We said, where's Photoshop? I can't find it. Go to the Start menu, type in Photoshop, right? Remember that? We find it, and we're going to right-click, and we're going to send it to the desktop. Whoops, send to the desktop to create a shortcut. Remember that? Click outside of there, and we're going to open up. There's Photoshop. We're going to open it up, double click it. Okay, remember, your Photoshop's not going to look like my Photoshop, but what's always the same is up here. So what we wanted to do, remember, we wanted to go to File, and we wanted to go to Bridge, browse in Bridge. Because Bridge is where you can kind of get yourself organized in Photoshop. We're not even looking at too many pictures. We're not doing anything with the picture. We're finding Photoshop, getting it on our desktop, finding Bridge, getting ourselves organized. So remember, we made sure up here is that we went to Window, and we made sure, Window, we made sure that the Folders panel was checked, because that's where you can find all of your folders and your pictures. Remember, we're trying to get organized here, so we go outside, click it, so that goes away. We found My Pictures, and we started just getting organized. We hovered over My Pictures, we right-clicked, we click on New Folder. We can either go to New Folder here. If we want to name it up here, we can click on New Folder, click on it once, right? And then hover over it, click on it twice, highlight that, press back or delete. Okay, delete. And we're going to make another folder, one called May. There you go. All right, guys. Well, there's this video. This is just to get the incredibly basics down, to find Photoshop, get into Bridge, find out where your pictures are, maybe get yourself a little bit organized, how to create new folders, how to rename them, and how to get folders within a folder. Because if you look here, we got My Pictures as a folder, and we got smaller folders within our big My Pictures folder. So please subscribe. My plan is to do many more videos. We'll go through this together. We'll get more and more involved. This one's kind of a boring one, just to kind of getting things going. But we'll get into pictures. We'll get into how to do all sorts of really cool things with Photoshop. Thank you so much.